Yo, it's Ness here from the Ness podcast. I am coming to you today with a brand new episode that I recorded with the incredible and amazing Sophia Rayne. She's a singer-songwriter from the US in Los Angeles, and I had the absolute privilege of being able to connect with her across entire oceans. Our conversation was so enigmatic, beautifully connective, and so resonant in so many places. So I know that when you listen to this, you'll definitely feel and sense some parallels between your own experience and also that of ours. And we really hope that you enjoy the story sharing aspect of what we've created in our conversation today as well. I'd also like to acknowledge that I create and I work upon the lands of the Bidjigal people of the Darug Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to anybody listening or tuning into this podcast today. I make a concerted effort in all my work to acknowledge and to also move forward as a commitment, as an organisation, as a person, as a community, in efforts of reconciliation, in efforts of great movement and change. So I really hope that you enjoy this podcast episode. Yeah, it's a good one.
Hi, Ness.
Oh my god, hi.
I'm trying to figure out this light situation because in my little viewfinder thingy, it is looking so overexposed.
Yeah, I feel that. Me as well. Like, I have this window here and I was like, do I close it? Do I leave it open? And I closed it and it looked so dark, and I opened it and it looked so white, and I'm like, okay, like
Gotta work with what we've got, you know?
Yeah, the eternal lighting struggle, honestly. I feel
Yes.
like many folks struggle with it. Yes, okay. I'm just making sure that everything's ready to go. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really well too. I really like your room. It's so beautiful with the plants and the little
you.
bits.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is just one corner of it too. It's kind of chaotic in here. Sometimes I feel like I went overboard, but it's okay.
No such thing. And also I feel like a lot of creatives, like, we generally tend to just kind of like poop all of our cool imagination, especially into our spaces. So
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we are good to go. Okay. G'day and welcome to the Guide Ness podcast. Today I'm joined by the incredible Sophia Rayne. And Sophia, where are you calling from today?
I am calling from California, Northern California in the US. So I'm so happy to be sitting here with you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a bit of divine providence, I feel, the way that we connected. So I posted my Spotify Wrapped, you were one of my top artists, and then you sent me a little voice message back, and I got so excited. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, I really feel cool to ask if she'd want to be a guest. And so I was like, what can you lose by asking? And you said yes, and now you're here, and it feels surreal, but it also feels very, very aligned. And I'm very grateful to you for being here too.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, nothing in this universe is coincidence. So I'm so glad that you asked and that we were able to connect.
Yeah, straight up. So you are a musician. You share your energy through song and the vocal cords that you're blessed with by the mighty. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with music, and then also, before you do, actually rewind, what's your intention for this session?
Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought of it actually. My intention is to just get grounded and really open up an intimate space for us to chat and connect, and also connect with your listeners. I really don't have a plan for this. I kind of just want to go with the flow and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, Yeah, that's my favorite, honestly. I feel like whenever we don't have a plan is when the magic really just comes in.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
this is better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah. My intention is to celebrate you and to share your work, and also to share space with you as well. Yeah, and our listeners.
Thank you,
Um,
Angel. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so
To answer your question though, prior, as far as just how I got started in with my music, I've always loved to sing ever since I was really little. You know, my mom was doing choir when I was, you know, a baby up to maybe 4 or 5, and my dad, he plays instruments. And so whether it was the Spanish guitar or the flute or the didgeridoo or whatever it might have been, it was always just kind of around me. Um, and then because of a poetry class in what I believe was 5th grade,
mm,
I fell in love with writing. I really did. And so a few years later, I started writing poetry and then music, and also just writing about my life, about my day. Daily journaling really helped change my life for the better. And yeah, so spring of 2020, I released my first track, and the rest is history.
yes, yes. And it's such an immense feeling, I assume, as well, of just putting something that you've put so much love into out into the world and just
Mhm.
seeing how it blossoms and blooms in its own way. And I think I've spoken to a few musicians about this too, about how once it's out there, it's probably like it's no longer really your baby that you've spent 9 months working on. It belongs to the people now.
Yeah. I feel similarly, I suppose, but I mean, they will always be my babies, but there's definitely such a profound release that happens when you're able to just let it go, give
Mm,
it to the world, like you were saying, give it to the fans, and start working on other things that are more presently aligned, you know? Because sometimes songs can be sitting in the notes or being worked on for months and months at a time. And by the time you're finished with it, a lot of the case scenarios tend to be that you don't resonate as deeply, you know, as when you first wrote it. Just the ebbs and flows of life, I suppose. But yeah, it is really so beautiful to be able to get people's reactions and you know, hear how deeply they resonate and connect with my lyrics, because it just brings me back to when I first wrote it, and it warms me up so much inside.
mm, mm. I love that. I love that. I really do feel that the process itself is, yeah, just enjoying the release and then allowing other people to really give you feedback that you gratefully receive. Because I think that's something that creatives kind of struggle with sometimes as well, is owning up to their achievements and then honestly accepting and being so grateful for the praise. And I think that's something that you do really well. And yeah, I really respect and admire the whole way that you conduct yourself online as well. I think that's really cool. And you just have such a presence. You have such a cool presence and a cool being, and like you don't really have to have a physical conversation or an online conversation to know it. And I think that's when,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, it's
thank
like
you.
true power is like power that you don't have to say is power.
Mm. I really appreciate you affirming that and seeing me. And oh my gosh, I feel so loved right now.
You're so welcome. That's I feel like that was part of my intention today. So this will not be the be all and end all of it. It will continue throughout the entire thing.
You know, it's really interesting what you mentioned, and I feel called to bring it up because I was just having a conversation about this with a good girlfriend of mine just a few days ago, about how, especially women, I notice they tend to avoid compliments. You know, they say, oh, like no, I didn't actually do my hair today, or no, I don't actually look that good, or you know, they just kind of veer away from what people are there to offer them. And we deep dove into this conversation because I realized that it's such a big part of letting your feminine energy, your divine feminine energy, be present and honored by graciously accepting and being in a space of just surrender and receiving. And compliments is one of the ways people can either do that or totally miss the opportunity, you know what I mean? So I really am grateful for you, and I thank you for, like I said, just seeing me and honoring that, because it wasn't always like this, you know what I mean? And that awareness was crazy when I finally realized that I say sorry a lot, or I was not graciously receiving the way that I was being offered, the opportunities that came my way. And it was almost like I was telling the universe, like, no, I don't want these opportunities. I don't want these blessings. I don't want these compliments. I don't want people to see me or appreciate me. And it really took a toll.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if there's anyone listening out there who notices that they apologize quite a bit, or maybe they don't receive the way that they want to, just some friendly reminder to bring awareness to those situations, and trust that when people do give you compliments, that it's coming from a place of the heart, and they are not forced to, they're choosing to, and you don't have to rationalize, you know what I mean? Yeah, so
I'll let that really sink in, because that's so important. I love it. I love it. I feel like a lot of journaling has definitely gone into this place. A lot of collective work, and not just, I guess, work on an individual level, but also work on a collective level. We've all just reached this point in time where if you're sensitive at all, you can definitely feel that something is shifting and changing at the moment. And I'm saying this to a lot of people at the moment, because I feel like as much as it is feeling a lot on a geopolitical scale, like it's trending towards the bad, I think it neglects to really address the individual power and the light that's being shared in everybody's lives, whether that's in their local communities or whether that's in their families, whatever. I believe that the impact that we have on our micro circles is so much bigger than we can ever possibly believe, that we're so much bigger than we can believe. And I think accepting compliments gratefully is part of that puzzle. Journaling is another part of that puzzle. And then also connecting with people that conventionally we wouldn't really be connecting with. So like you and I talking and having this conversation is a connection across oceans that I think is immense and so beautiful. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to even create spaces like this where we can actually just talk to each other. I think that's something that we've really lost a little bit of along the way, is the ability to just have connection and be in space without a specific like I need to do something or I need to be something in a particular way. So I feel like music is a big driver in that. Music is very connective. And your music in particular, I feel as soon as I heard Intuition, I think I just resonated immediately. And I remember listening to it with two of my girlfriends. We're driving around, Crystal and Louise were driving around in the national park, and we had it playing. And it was just like one of those cosmic moments that will probably play on your death reel. Like,
oh my God.
it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, like just getting people on it and like sharing the music and being in the music when it's playing, I think is so special. And thank you for creating that.
Thank you for connecting and appreciating it. Yeah, I definitely agree though. Music is a very powerful way to connect with others, and the world feels smaller and smaller every day in the best way, like more and more connected. These synchronized moments have been happening, especially more recently in my life, where I'm like, wait a minute, you know who? You know that person? I know that person. Or like, how did you, and it's just the most magical thing ever. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. I feel like in this new understanding of being in the world and being a human in the world. I think creators are definitely driving a lot of that change at the moment. Um,
Mm.
how do you think music plays a role in all of it?
Oh my gosh. Music, of course. Okay, so a few things come to mind when you ask me that question. One, music has been a part of the human experience for many years, like down to the primal time, right? So, and it's always been a very celebratory, connective experience, you know? So I think that plays a really big part in just our evolution, but also music, depending on the intention that the artist has when creating, it can it can heal you on a cellular, deep level, because our body, it holds trauma, and and music, as well as dancing and moving your body, it helps really move that and allow it to shift and get out of your, you know, your being. So music is just such a powerful way to heal, but also such a powerful way to connect with others, because if you listen to a song, you know, of course, it's inherently your perspective and how you choose to interpret whatever that song is conveying to you. But at the same time, if you're connecting with one thing, which is music itself or a track or whatever, someone else is also connecting with it. And that is an opportunity to bond, right? So it's just, it runs so deep. And I, yeah, I really love to see how it brings people together. And I really love to be a part of that. It's
Yeah,
so special.
yeah, yeah. I feel like you definitely are. Your music, I think, plays a very integral role in the tapestry of who we are and how we're moving through different cycles and times at the moment. I think that
Mhm.
you lend a big voice to women as well in that space, and like to the different ebbs and flows of what it means to be feminine and to experience through a feminine lens as well. Um, do you feel like you channel the divine feminine in your music?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hope I do. Oh my gosh. I I feel that I'm in my masculine energy actually quite often when I live my life.
Mm,
And so when I am in a creative space, it is this just beautiful pocket where I am really able to tap into my divine feminine and channel that energy. And, you know, like you said, like write music from a perspective of a woman. So, you know, a lot of my songs have to do with heartache and love and, you know, deep connection. And I mean, there's plenty, right? But um, I really do hope so. I really do hope that I channel that when I
yeah,
write.
yeah. I feel it. I feel that you do. Um, I was doing a little bit of a listen to all of Sophia's songs before I talked to her moment this morning.
Oh my
Um, and I really, really resonated with two. I really like Living. I hadn't heard that one before. Um,
God.
and I also really like Take Life as She Comes. I think those
Oh,
two are like two of my new favorites. I added it to my like songs. Um, Tell me about them. How did they come about? And how do you feel about them?
yes, I have such interesting stories for both actually. So living, I my grandmother lives on Kauai in the Hawaiian Islands, and I was able to visit her and just really decompress. I remember that year being one of just I wouldn't want to say chaos, but just a lot goes on, especially in California. I notice maybe it's all around the US, but gosh, I don't know. There's a very fast paced lifestyle. It's very quick, you know?
Mm,
Um, so going to the islands and really being able to get grounded in my vessel again and connect with Mother Earth. And I was just in a place of deep gratitude and deep reflection. And I was like, holy moly, my life has really changed over the last couple years. I was in a really, really dark place a few years back. And I'm truly grateful to have been able to experience those times, because without them, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to make the art that I am today. But I was just reflecting on how much more I've been able to live my life to the fullest. And in living, obviously the chorus is pretty self-explanatory. It's just living pretty much. But the verses, they talk a little bit more about my life in the last couple years, right? I talk about my sobriety and when I first met the people that I call family now, who have brought me into a more spiritual but also communal environment. And I also talk about releasing music for the first time and just truly feeling so grateful for my transformation, but also, yeah, just life in general in that moment. So that's how living came to be. And Take Life As She Comes is actually a collaborative track with one of my best girlfriends. Her name is Morel, and she goes by Morel Music on Instagram if you want to find her. But she is just so incredible. She's so soulful, and she's an R&B artist. And I was visiting her at her place, and we just sat down one morning in her living room, and we were, reflecting and figuring out what we wanted to sing about, what we wanted to write about. And Take Life As She Comes came to be. It was just such a beautiful, a very beautiful and magical morning. The light was coming through the window. She was making me breakfast. Life was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Death real.
Yeah. But we wanted to write a song that felt right for both of us, but also just, I don't even exactly know what to say regarding the process, but it was just, it was amazing. I feel so great about that project. We also have a music video out for that song. And it's one of my favorite music videos too. And part of why is because we were able to capture the generations before me and my life as a baby, and really depict like how life changes and the cycles that we all experience, and being able to reflect on that with gratitude and just slow down, some tea, stir some honey in it, enjoy the birds singing, that kind of feeling. So I'm really glad that you like those two songs.
Yeah. I love them. Honestly, I listened to them and I was like, okay, I like it. I think, they definitely give me the drinking tea with honey feeling. And I think, we do kind of forget to sit and really bask in those little precious moments of, this is probably everything 16-year-old me could ever have asked for when she reflected on what she wanted for her life. So I think having music to really mark that and commemorate it is so important. And you mentioned so many cool things in what you were talking about as well. I don't even know where to begin, but you were talking about like your lineage and like people before you that have come in your birth and things like that. But then you also touched on like spiritual communities and how the two intersect with each other. There was something else you mentioned, but my brain has fogged it at the moment. But I guess my question is, how do you think we can go about amalgamating the new understandings for spirituality and community to exist in tandem with each other, but then also bringing in the element of our parents and our ancestry that perhaps sometimes struggle to link into those things? even though we desperately want them to.
Let me sit with that for a second, because I just got like body chills when you were talking. I think each person's experience is so different. And I know that a lot of people were raised in environments that they cherish and they love, but a lot of people were raised in more of a traumatic experience and environment that they don't want to carry with them. And so I do want to preface my answer by saying that to each their own. You know, if you feel drawn and you feel called to bring your lineage and, you know, carry your past with you, like, by all means, that is for you to choose. But if you feel hesitant, I want you to know that, like, you're so heard, and so your experiences are so valid. And I don't want anyone to feel pressured like they have to. And I think, you know, I'm saying all this, and it's coming from a very personal experience, you know, because there is a part of me that struggled for a very long time to accept and acknowledge, you know, where I came from and how I was raised. But at the same time, I see so much of myself with that side of my lineage that comes out in the most beautiful ways. And I recognize that, you know, the people before me, they were raised in very specific ways, and some beautiful and some that I don't personally agree with. And that's okay. And there's just so much that I am now discovering and so deeply cherishing to where I once did not want anything to do with it. So I would recommend, if for anyone out there listening who's in a similar position, like, try to have an open mind about it, because what came before you doesn't necessarily have to be a parental figure, right? It doesn't necessarily have to reflect on that. I'm trying to answer this in a somewhat of a vague way, but also just more universal.
You're doing a great job. You're actually hitting like so many boxes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I suppose in order to connect like spirituality and community and how maybe we'd bring our lineage involved, I think it's almost inevitable, like, because it's part of who we are, right? So it's like, whether you choose to acknowledge it or not, it's gonna be in you somehow, whether that reflects in karmic cycles or if that reflects in just the most beautiful, expansive ways. I think it's worth taking the time to appreciate it and to acknowledge it. And yeah, it might open your eyes to a lot of answers. Yeah.
Big time. Oh, yeah. I really feel that. I feel that a lot of people, myself included, really moving through. We just passed a Gemini full moon. So I feel like everything's kind of coming up at the same time to be released before we move into the silly season. But it feels like completion is coming. It feels like we're sort of reaching this place of understanding where we realize that even though things happened a certain way in the past, it doesn't necessarily have to dictate who we decide to become, and who we choose to be moving forward. And I think that you raised that really, really beautifully as well, about how sometimes, despite the fact, well, I guess that you can separate the parental aspect from the upbringing aspect sometimes as well, to be able to glean the most precious gems and the most precious gifts from the experiences that we've endured in some respects as well. And I think, I always feel like our parents have done their best, in the sense that they're only building upon the best knowledge that they were given themselves. And I think that's why young people often cop a lot of hate as well, is because we're always every young generation is here to challenge the previous generation and to be like, hey, yes, we did this like this for a long time, but it's not necessarily working. Let's try something new. And I think it's often when young people don't feel heard that there's that feeling of hopelessness and apathy that comes through as well. So I think communal spaces and creating those spaces for young people to really connect and to gain hope from each other, but then also reconnecting back into like the elders of our community as well, is so vital, because they hold so much knowledge too. So I definitely see our creative processes and our creative machinations taking on that element of wisdom from our elders that are still with us, and even those that are in the spirit realm as well. Like, I think they're always ready to give us guidance and advice. We just need to really ask for it and then listen, slow it down. But I guess, how could we amalgamate those aspects of elders and ancestry into our music?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that was beautifully said, and I agree with everything. Yeah. I was sitting here reflecting like, and as far as like how we can acclimate this into our creative spaces and music, that's a great question. I think it really does fall on a very personal level as well, because everyone's on different journeys, and and so many people are here to express their perspective on their journeys in such unique ways that it feels like a tricky one to answer, to be honest. To be open with you here. But I do think, like I said, it's a very personal experience, but I trust and believe fully that no matter where you are on that journey and how you choose to express it, there's gonna be someone in the world who is deeply looking for someone to put it in words, or to put a beat, or to put it in a painting, and they are going to be able to see it or hear it or feel it or whatever it might be, and connect with you on a soul level and feel heard and loved and understood. And that just makes me all warm and fuzzy inside. It makes me so happy, because you could be going through the worst chapter of your life, or you could be going through the best or the most transformative or eye-opening or whatever it might be. And I think what people forget sometimes is that we're all living a much more similar reality than we care to admit. Especially in a world that teaches us, oh, you gotta present yourself as your best, and you don't want anyone to judge you, and you all this stuff, which keeps us from being vulnerable sometimes. And so if you're being vulnerable in your art and you're expressing yourself in a way that is true to you, there you will do no wrong. Yeah.
Oh, I got little truth bumpies on that one. I love that. I absolutely love that. It resonates so deeply. I really, you brought up judgment. I really wanted to touch on that too. I feel like as a creative, we sit in that space of judging our own work probably harsher than anybody else probably would. So I guess my question to you is advice to any creatives dealing with the judgment monster.
Ooh. The judgment monster. Yes. The monster is so tiny. It's so small, but it feels big until you stop giving it power. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but I promise you that people aren't picking apart your work the way that we do, like you said, as artists. It's yeah, and I feel like once you just fully surrender to the creative flow and allow yourself to just, like I said earlier, be in a authentic place, it like there's no way to criticize art. You know what I mean? You know, like, because art is just the purest reflection of us, like, and it's also unique, you know. But I think really try to sit with yourself, try to reflect the best you can on where it stemmed from, because that is when you can acknowledge it and, you know, thank that monster for maybe protecting you once in your childhood, or however it might have come up to exist to begin with, and allow it to leave, allow it to make its way out of your life. And it might take a long time, but like I said, like, really take the time to ask yourself why, where, who, like, how did this come to be, you know? Because it's usually always stemmed from a place of childhood, whether that's a parent or a person at school, or, you know, somehow, somewhere, someone was coming from a place of fear and or judgment, and they chose to reflect that onto you, and then it stuck with you on a subconscious note, you know. And yeah, but it's totally human and it's totally normal to have those fears come up. And yeah, so, like, please don't feel like others are, I don't know, they've got it together or handled or superior. I don't like, try not to compare yourself to other people who might not like allow that that fear to take over, because like I said, it's just so human and it's a part of your experience. But I think part of the way we can maintain it, at the very least, is really deep diving with ourselves and figuring out where it came from, because then we can take away that power from it and it'll break, you know what I mean? Yeah,
big time. I mean, I realize even calling it a monster, I was like, wow, that's a lot of power to give to something as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
The way I like to picture it is, when it comes up, it's almost like, I don't know if you've seen movies where the character is in front of a light and then its shadow gets cast and it's huge. You know, like, that's how I think of it. Is like, in reality, it's so much smaller and completely irrelevant. Yeah. So
It's like Batman.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, incredible content. I feel like I don't often really get to connect and meet people who are immersed in their own journey of healing and discovery. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of loneliness that I glean from that, because I'm like, you know, I know that everybody has their own version of it, and I'm aware that in some way we're all kind of doing it, but it's not often that people feel quite comfortable speaking about it in a public forum, let alone in a friendship context as well. So I guess my question is, how did you get started in the world of working and playing on yourself and in yourself? And how, if someone wants to do it, how can they overcome the initial scary feelings of doing it in the first place?
Well, I how I got started, I suppose a big part of it was journaling and just allowing myself the space to free write.
Mm.
But I also think that there has to be a willingness, you know. And for me personally, I was in a very dark place at one point where I was suppressing everything with substance or people or gosh, who knows, just trying to suppress and not face the very deep and heavy and real emotions that I needed to in order to move forward. And uh and so for me personally, it took a will. There had to be a will, because at a certain point I realized it wasn't working, and at a certain point I realized, oh my gosh, I've got to get sober and I've got to change my life because this is not working. This doesn't feel good anymore. And something really needs to change. And so I made the executive, I don't know the word. Is it executive decision? Okay. I made the executive decision to really find a place of solitude and really allow myself to, in a loving space, keyword loving space, open up those feelings that I was suppressing for so long. So I'm kind of blanking on the second question you asked. You said, how would I give advice to those who are maybe looking to get started, right?
Well, might feel like it's a bit scary to begin with.
Yeah, it can be a lot. It can be a lot to take on at once. And so I suppose my advice is, don't feel the need to take it on all at once. Maybe just take it one day at a time, one journal entry at a time, one nature walk at a time. You know, however you choose to connect with yourself in a positive and high vibrational way. And then be open to receive the downloads that come up, receive the feelings that arise and bubble up to the surface, and you know, be open to embracing them with love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, yeah. I resonate so deeply with what you were saying about sobriety and substances. I feel like one thing that a lot of creatives draw expression and inspiration from are their experiences of deep, dark sadness and loneliness and anguish. I think that we probably wouldn't have such a impeccable ability to create and express it into the world if we hadn't experienced it. But I also think that it's so vital for us to experience it so that we can connect with people who have experienced it as well. And I think that's definitely, it is like a gift that's also like doesn't feel like a gift when you first receive it. You're like, what the fuck is this? Can I return this? Like,
Yeah. It can be so uncomfortable for sure.
Yeah.
But I always have found myself coming to a place of being able to look back at it, and I don't know, maybe I don't have all the answers, but to be able to look back and recognize that, okay, that taught me something, or that is part of what developed who I am now. And, you know, that sort of thing, being able to, you know, send it gratitude and hold space, because like you were saying, it's not the easiest thing to manage, and it can be really uncomfortable. You were saying it's like a gift you never wanted. Yeah, that's real. And there are also some situations where you might never get those answers. You might never ever see why. And you know, the world is filled with mysteries. And so I think that maybe sometimes we might never ever know, or maybe we'll find out when we pass and go to a different place. But just yeah.
We do our best while we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that hit. And I know that will hit for a lot of our listeners as well, because I feel like when we hear truth, it's not that we're hearing it for the first time. It almost feels like we're remembering it, something that we've always known, and that's why it feels like truth. And I don't know, like, I feel like the end of the year is such an important time to reflect on everything that's passed and to take stock of where we're at, where we want to go from here. So I guess I want to ask you about your reflections for the year. How did 2022 treat you, and what is in store for 2023?
Oh my gosh. 2022 was, there's a lot to unpack there. So many incredible, life-changing adventures. So many beautiful, beautiful connections. And there also, I think there's something in my throat. Excuse me. I'm just gonna cough this out.
Go for it.
Okay. So just a lot of shifts though. A lot of shifts, a lot of bumps in the road, I suppose, as well. So, it's just this big old mixing pot of life that all felt very potent in this year. And yeah, a lot of feelings too. Lots of joy, lots of sadness, lots of tears shed, lots of laughter, lots of just deep peace and deep overwhelm. Just the human experience is so vast. Yeah, absolutely. And then as far as 2023 goes, I cannot help but feel so excited. Oh my gosh, it's like I can't even express it in words. I just have this feeling like magic is just, it's simmering on the pot and it's about to boil, and I just am so beyond grateful for every single thing that has brought me to this point in my life. And as far as music goes, this new year will be filled with song releases. 2022, I was traveling quite a bit, and so I released 2 songs all year, which does not sit right with me. But I promise you that there has been so much in just cooking and being worked on as we speak. And so 2023 is going to be just filled with just incredible art and my heart on the plate, on a platter for people to enjoy and critique, and gosh, who knows what. But I'm so excited. What about you, Ness? How do you feel?
Yeah, I share in that sentiment, definitely. I feel like I hear the cauldron bubbling. There is definitely magic afoot. I think that it really will depend on your perception of the world as to whether or not it is good magic or bad magic.
Interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
because I feel like these shifts, if you go with them, if you go with the flow, they can either be the best ride of your life, or you can go screaming. You can go kicking and screaming. But I do also very much resonate with what you said about how it is very much inevitable. I think we are realizing that we need to be in relation and connection to each other. And I think I definitely see that happening for me next year. I've just very much enjoyed a very big year of those shifts and those connections and those deeper knowings, soul knowings, that you're definitely in the right place at the right time and someone's looking out for you always. but yeah, we're doing some really cool things. So I help facilitate a youth community, and we are moving and shifting into a new understanding of what that means. So we are I've got a frog in my throat too now. We are starting a hub for creatives called Our Block. So it's just a cool space where young people can come and start their creative projects, and we help them take it from birth all the way to release, within a
Wow.
communal context that is also quite spiritual and very connected as well. Yeah, I just love creation, you know.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. It wouldn't be possible without all the love of each member, each community member, and each team member. It's like, I think we're moving into a phase. This is my intention for 2023. My intention for 2023 is to help everyone realize that we're all on the same team.
Mm. Mm.
It's simple. It's simple, but team, like we don't play against each other. We're here to support each other. If someone needs help, we'll help them out. And, I think that's probably one of the most powerful aspects about community. But I think sometimes community is a big word and it can scare people, Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for all that you are doing.
No, thank you. I feel like even though we're oceans apart, our journeys, like I've also been doing so much traveling this year as well. So our journeys, I see so many synchronicities between them. And I feel like us connecting today was such divine providence. I feel like I've like all week I've been like, my chat with Sophia. And like I've been telling everyone about it. I've been like, I'm talking to this cool lady and I'm playing your music. And then I'm like,
Oh,
this is who I'm talking to.
oh my gosh.
I'm excited. But yeah, I feel that. I feel also like not going in with a plan as well, because plans, the best laid plans sometimes get a bit bunked up.
That's true.
But yeah, I feel like, yeah. Do you have any last sentiments, feelings, sharings that you want to share with us today?
Oh, man. Mm. Breathe a little more.
Mm.
That came to me, and try to just breathe a little bit deeper and a little bit more consciously,
Mm.
and trust that it will all work out.
Yeah.
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 And oh my gosh, sweet sister, thank you for having me. I was looking forward to this podcast episode all week as well, and it's been such a blessing to be able to sit down and connect with you and chat with you. And, maybe one of these days I'll hop on a flight and come see you in person.
I would
'Cause
love that.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. You always have a place to stay if I have a place of residence. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think that's one of the benefits of connecting all over this country and all over the world, is that when you do, you have a couch to stay in every place, a village to call home in every place that you could ever dream of going as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right back. If you ever find yourself in California for whatever
Yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah.
Let me-
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I'm not sure if either of us is ready for California or me, I mean.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Sydney definitely has a parallel with that, in that it's very fast paced as well. But
Mm.
I like to do a little bit of traveling around to like the regional zones, and yeah, spend some time outside in the slower zone of life. It's so important.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
breathing, everybody breathe. Let's do some breaths here before we close out. So for our listeners who are tuning in from home, and the beautiful Sophia tuning in across the ocean, we just settle into our space and feather in, and just take up the space of your body and be present in all of your limbs, your extremities, noticing how it might feel to be sitting in a seat or standing, walking, whatever you might be doing right now. Just take a moment to take a deep breath in from your nose and exhaling from your mouth. Notice how it really just fills your entire body with new, fresh energy and intention. And just make a small commitment to yourself to be aware of your breath a little bit more today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sitting in such big gratitude right now. Big gratitude hours. Sending it out to you all the way across the ocean. Let's send it to the earth as well, because damn, we wouldn't be here on this incredible journey without it.
Yeah.
Everybody listening today. Yeah. How special. Yeah. 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 I gratefully thank you for being here in this space and sharing space with me. It's been such a beautiful privilege, and such a cool, awesome conversation. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to sharing this one. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. And yeah, where can we find your work and
Oh,
your music?
yes. So I go by Sophia Rayne on every streaming platform, but the way that my name is spelled is Sophia, and then Rayne is Rayne. And if anything, Ness, I can send you a general link that maybe you can throw onto, where you end up posting this. And depending on where you're listening today, whether it's a description or a bio or wherever it might be, there will be a link for you to find my socials. I'd love to connect with you there, as well as all my music that you can vibe and connect with me on a deep, deep soul level over there. Yeah.
Bless. The Sophia Revolution of Australia is coming, lads and ladders.
I'm ready.
Vibes. The vibes are on. What a good episode. I'm gonna stop recording now, but thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you loved this conversation, and we'll see you next time.
All right. A source of love created by divine to shed light on everything I touch. I'm grateful for where I am and who I have become. One. Free and open to my dreams.